had this opinion ever since Demon Slayer Infinity Castle came out in September of 2025. And some people might not agree with me, but I feel like all of the upper moons are so OP that they just only happened to die by circumstance. And I want to specifically talk about Akaza first. So Akaza, he's in the Infinity Castle arc, as most of the other upper moons are, at least the upper moons 1 through 4. And he faces Tanjiro and Giyu in a battle. And Tanjiro awakens his transparent world and learns to predict Akaza's movements, while Giyu uses his Demon Slayer mark. They fight evenly until Tanjiro manages to land a decisive strike that beheads Akaza. However, even after his decapitation, Akaza's body resists death. However, he recalls his human memories, his fiancé, his master, his father, his guilt, and consciously rejects Muzan's power, choosing to disintegrate. It wasn't really Tanjiro and Giyu who defeated him. Like, yes, they weakened him, but he made the conscious decision to die because he recalls all of his old memories. And of course, we also see the battle with Douma, who is Upper Man 2, who Shinobu confronts and ultimately dies. Douma, for context, killed Kane, her older sister. And of course, Shinobu is putting up a fight, but despite her deadly poisons, Douma's ice technique overwhelms her, and he ends up absorbing her body. But Shinobu had prepared for this. Her body was saturated with a massive dose of wisteria poison, which is lethal enough for upper moons. Eventually, Kanao and Inosuke arrive, and they are fighting with Douma, and Kanao manages to decapitate him while he's collapsing from the poison. And Douma disintegrates, laughing bizarrely, admiring Shinobu's death. Again, kind of a coincidence, because one character died. She was ultimately the reason that he died. He was very OP. And then, of course, we have Kokushibo. So Kokushibo is Muzan's most powerful subordinate and the brother of Yoriichi Uni, and he battles multiple demon slayers, including Muichiro, Genya, Sanemi, and Yome. Muichiro and Genya die in the fight, but not before severely injuring him, and Sanemi and Yome continue the assault, pushing him past his limits. While he is mortally wounded and begins to rot, his own excessive generation from regenerating his body turns him into this grotesque monster, and he ultimately ends up killing himself by slicing his own neck. It just seems like a coincidence that, like, specifically with these the three most upper moons, that the Demon Slayer Corps was not ultimately able to defeat them without there being the coincidence of Akaza consciously giving up, Kokushibo killing himself because he realized how much of a monster he had become, and Douma just succumbing to the poison after he had absorbed Shinobu's body hours or minutes beforehand. And then the last character that I wanted to talk about is Muzan Kibutsuji. Let me know these is all spoilers, so basically he ends up escaping the Infinity Castle after it collapses. He's facing all these demon slayers in the open. He's monstrously powerful, kills a lot of slayers. The battle lasts until dawn as they try to stall him. Basically, the only reason that they ended up killing Muzan is because the sun rises, and he's attempting to shield himself. He ends up turning Tanjiro into his demon successor, and his body disintegrates into the sunlight. Tanjiro briefly becomes a demon, but is turned human by now using Tamayo's antidote, which we saw she had used to turn Nezuko back to human. I just find it very ironic, and I feel like if it was not given the circumstances and the coincidences of what occurred, the Demon Slayer Corps would have very much died off in the Infinity Castle arc, which I mean they do afterwards, but not the point.